Welcome back to the Summer Medi podcast, guys. I'm Pete. Today's special guest is someone that a lot of you will know if you're in the health or fitness space. Starting out as a PT, he transitioned into owning a range of F45s here in Melbourne and up in Darwin, and then he started the famous brand Strong. He's now a dad, family guy, still based here in Australia, but transitioning over to the US, settling down in Texas to grow the brand through North America. Very excited to welcome Michael. Welcome, mate.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, so to get started, I've actually known your name and not you. I knew about you before getting to meet you in person. Never knew your name was Michael at the start. Everyone always knew you as Ramsey. But I knew you through a range of personal contacts. I'd heard about you through professional contacts, and then obviously getting through our chat through Digital Stack and everything like that. But I just sort of wanted to step back looking through your career. I found it fascinating that you used to be a personal trainer at Belgravia. We're really passionate about PTs in here. Can you sort of touch on, how you got into that from your transitioning from your marketing career and just talk about that time in your life?
Yeah, Belgravia, Windy Hill, both sort of Essendon boys, aren't we?
Yep,
yeah,
100%.
Yeah, mate, it was a really interesting one. I started lifting weights at like the age of 15. I think that was like the youngest you could get a membership there at Windy Hill Fitness Centre. And I just loved it. Fell in love with it, and ended up doing my PT course actually through high school. So at a very young age, I was a qualified PT by about 18. So bit of a contradiction. I was working at McDonald's as well at the same time. So I'm flipping burgers at night and PTing in the morning. But yeah, mate, just fell in love with it, fell in love with fitness. I was always sort of mid-tier at sport, but enjoyed lifting weights. Probably, similar to yourself, you get hooked on sort of the weights and the traditional training. And just loved it. I PT'd for a couple of years, 2-3 years, and kind of fell out of love with it. And what I felt like I was a little bit of a psychologist. Right. So I just really kind of, you get to know these clients intimately, and what I sort of discovered later down my sort of fitness career was that love for like the group training and just the energy and stuff. But PT for me got very stale very quickly. I learned the fundamentals, obviously the physiology, how to write programs, progressive overload, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, mate, after a period of time, I decided to sort of take the marketing direction from a career perspective. So, yeah, ended up going back to uni doing a master's of marketing over sort of 7 years.
7 years. Well, that's committed. Congrats.
Yeah.
Mate, it's funny you talk about the psychology part. I think there's always been, for me, PTs always remind me of hairdressers. You sort of get them for that hour and they just dump everything on you. So whatever they've done that week, you could be rest assured you're going to hear about it from what's happened from the previous time you caught up. But even, I'm not going to say names or anything, but even just being around and training in gyms, when I hear people talk to their trainers, I'm like, are you better off going having a coffee? Or do you want to get smashed and trained? I think, was that part of the turnoff, like having to deal with more of the personal stuff, or just the taking through those routines over and over again? Was it sort of the physical side?
Yeah, probably a bit of both. We all know to get results, repetitions required. And it became a little bit like Groundhog Day for me. And I'm like pretty high energy. I like the social aspect, but you just locked in one-on-one with clients. And look, I just sort of realized that it wasn't the space or the exact space that I wanted to be in, but I still loved fitness. So even like when I was studying through those years, I was still PTing on the side, I was still doing things like that. But yeah, it wasn't until F45 that I really could put all those elements together that I loved,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How long did you work at Macca's for? I just have to ask you.
Oh, fuck. Probably like 5 years.
Yeah, but what a great, for becoming good in sales, what an awesome, were you at the front or at the back?
I was at the back. So It was, what I learned most was from a systems perspective. And like, I still think Macca's is one of the best franchises, but how the fuck do you teach a 15-year-old to make 9 cheeseburgers in 2 minutes, right? How do you teach a 15-year-old to do anything?
Minutes?
Yeah, it's like 2.5 minutes. So 52 seconds to cook the beef. The buns go in the oven, and then you've got the ketchup, mustard, onions, pickle, cheese, and then the meat comes off, and then you wrap it up, and it's out there in like just over 2 minutes. So how do you teach a young 15-year-old who's, got their mind on probably 10 other things? How do you teach them how to do that and do it efficiently and do it the same way every single time with high quality? That's what I took from Macca's. So,
awesome.
The same can be said now with fitness franchising and tech, right? Giving systems to staff to help them perform better. So it was a good experience. I think I was crew member of November in like 2000 and I don't even know, 8 or 9 or something like that. But
how does that compare to the Young Talent Awards?
Mate, I was proud of that. But yeah, it was a bit of a contradiction doing the McDonald's thing and the PT thing. But mate, when I do my PT course, like they still had the old food pyramid, and it was just so. It was very different. Like the fundamentals are the same, and the anatomy is the same, but from where it is now to where it was then, it's completely different. So it's definitely one of those things you need to keep learning, right?
Yeah. And going from, as I touched on at the start, like a PT's sort of career dream would be to go from the PT, setting up your own business successfully, running that for a few years, and then getting into some form of business where you can be an owner and a broader scale of success. How did you choose F45 as that next step for yourself?
Yeah, like it's PT's a hard one because it's a very hard one to scale. You're very reliant on that hour, your hour. Unless you go online or anything like that, it's very hard to scale. So you kind of capped it at the money you can make unless you really go into gym ownership and things like that. F45, I was just it was a really weird one. I was working at a nightclub with my now business partner Mark. He was my boss, and I was promoting, and I was my job was to look after the celebs and the footy players that would come in, give them bowls of vodka and whatever. And I was at the time I was working in marketing in the oil and gas space, and I just wasn't loving what I was doing. Right, it wasn't my space. B2B marketing, a lot of trade shows and things like that. And Mark just pulled me aside and he's like, "Hey, I found this thing called F45. There's about 4 studios open." He's like, "I think this is the way the industry's heading." He said, "I think with your PT background, marketing background, you'd be great at this." So he's the one who actually pulled me into it. And the next week, we're on a flight to Bondi, went and trained there. Most incredible sort of thing I'd seen in the space at the time. There was a DJ playing. There was 27 people training in this tiny space, and another 27 people were lined up for the next class. And this DJ's playing, and everyone's just doing all these fucking crazy movements, and the energy's high. And I just got in there, and we stayed for about a week, and we trained at all these different classes, and I just fell in love with it, like the energy, the community. And then for me, like, and then I ran the numbers. I did the business model, and I'm like, wow. So if you get 300 members paying $70 a week, you're effectively almost earning $1 million a year. Let's say it's 30% margin or 30% EBITDA. Like these are really, really, really good businesses. And so the business model made sense. It was enjoyable. They weren't paying the price point of a PT. They were effectively paying for one PT session and beginning a whole week of training with semi-hands-on support. And it just made sense. Do you know what I mean? Like everything 100%. Was like perfect sense. And so from then on, we're all in, and we had no money at the time. So we negotiated 2 free territories in Melbourne. And the way we did that, we grabbed 2 AFL players, Jimmy Bartell, Dyson Heppel, and we told F45, we said, we'll get these guys in and we'll get a whole lot of media because of all the stuff we were doing at the nightclubs. We were friends with all these guys. And yeah, we just said, give us 2 free licenses and we'll make it pop in Melbourne. And that's exactly what we did.
Damn. Yeah, wow. Then you're responsible for the initial growth and the explosion down here. I've seen nothing like it. I talk about it all the time, but remember the old Mango maps they had set up and everyone's clicking and buying their territories? So how did you know that what you'd invested in and what you'd taken a risk on? And firstly, I love the fact that you've actually jumped into it without having the cash set up, negotiating a different way. It's the best. How did you first know, yep, this is working? When you and Mark looked at each other and thought, yeah, it's going well.
Yeah, we launched with about 30 members, so definitely not in the first month. But it was just that grind, and every now and then, I would take, me and Mark would take every single class. Even Mark was a PT back in the day. I would explain the session. He would like do the exercises. And then there were just these glimpses of, in those first 6 months of those classes that were like half full, and then they were 3/4 full, and then they were full. And it was the energy in the community. And then we realized, we're like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. And this can work. And then all we did, mate, was probably two things. One was obviously the community aspect, so really look after your members. But two, all the people that we were looking after in the nightclubs, all the journos, all the celebs, all the reality TV people, all the footy players, we just, instead of giving them bottles of vodka, we gave them 10 packs to train it strong at F45. So yeah, that's what happened, and it just blew up, and then we just kept buying more and more studios.
And which was your flagship one that, like, I know you had a couple down Melbourne, South Melbourne way. Which was Port Melbourne the big one?
Port Melbourne was the first one, the big one. It won Best Studio globally 3 years running based off revenue. We had classes of 72 people with 5 instructors.
Wow. So
we built it was initially one studio, then we made it a double studio, so 2 studios side by side. Then we knocked down the wall and did these massive classes. I think the biggest one, we had a class of like 118 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
How big was this? So literally 2 classrooms side by side.
500 square meters.
Wow. That's as big as the office here.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
And that's how I'd heard about you, because I heard about this thing going off and everyone's like, what is this thing? And then I saw the Mango maps. And funnily enough, there's a lot of my mates who are trainers at Genesis and under the Belgravia arm and stuff. Oh, should do it. And refreshing every week and watching him disappear the territories. So when you went from success of having 2 in Melbourne, when did the 3rd and 4th come about? And I know you had some up in Darwin interstate. How did you find it managing ones that you just couldn't drive to?
Yeah.
Experience?
Yeah, it was certainly tougher. We effectively opened 1 year on year, or let's say 1.5 every year. We did Port Melbourne, South Yarra, Ascot Vale, Geelong. Yep. And then we were with one of the founders of F45, Rob, and we're just having a few beers. And we said to Rob, hey, what do you think is the best territory left? Because it had gone nuts, we'd already owned the 4, and just gone crazy. And he said, honestly, I think the big opportunity is Darwin. So we ended up, it was actually on the slide, no one actually knew about this, but he ended up becoming a partner in Darwin with us. And then we got Darwin for free. And
so the keys, guys, no franchise fees.
Yeah. And then, I hate telling the story now, because then my franchisees, try and cut deals with me. So then we end up owning Darwin, and it was incredible. He was right. Like, there was only 3 territories with quite a substantial population. So think about, like, let's say South Yarra, you've got maybe, 30,000 residents within that territory. But Darwin had like 110,000 residents within that territory. So the opportunity was greater, the population was greater. But yeah, managing the studios was tough. I went and spent a couple of months in Darwin. But it's not the same. Like, you got to rely on your managers. So we always did a 2-system approach. We'd have a studio manager and a head trainer, 2 sort of full-timers.
Yep.
And then we always had someone sort of full-time there. But it worked. When you have the numbers and you're making the revenue, you can sort of get away with those extra wages. Yeah.
And obviously the new model, that when you were talking about, you had the 27 people sort of in class, you had the big lineup for the second one. My first F45 experience was in Preston. The reason I still remember it is because I tried to break the record on the rower. Someone dared me to, and I was a big, massive unit back then, thought I could do it, and I nearly had a heart attack. And then I looked at the next station across as a rower. I was like, I'm not doing it. But that was packed, and the energy was incredible, like nothing I'd ever experienced. It was so loud in there.
Yep.
I thought it'd annoy me because I could hear it walking up to the door, and I loved it. I think it was amazing. Obviously, the explosion of that brand was like nothing ever sort of seen in this country before. And I think that just in terms of numbers, so obviously plateaued over a period of time. Let's call it the last 5 to 6 years. What do you think were the main reasons for that? And do you think, was it the US expansion, or was it too big for its own boots, not looking after franchisees. Does anything sort of stick out?
Yeah, it's certainly plateaued in Australia, right? But it's still the third biggest boutique fitness franchise in the world. So Club Pilates, Orange Theory, and then it's F45 number 3. So it's still quite big and growing in the US, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But Australia plateaued very quickly. I would say, I mean, it's a number of things. Cannibalization and saturation. So like too many studios. Like we had our closest studio to our Port Melbourne one was South Melbourne, which is 1.9 kilometres away. So really you could have had one studio and that could probably service South Melbourne, South Bank, but really you had 3 there. And that's all well and good when the brand is absolutely popping off, but through maturity, you know, you're going to have competitors come in that are going to take, you know, 10% market share here, 10% market share there. And then over time, having too many will always, you know, it'll always leave you sort of needing more members with too much supply. So I think that was a big one. Another one was probably, and this is a big one and why I ended up leaving, was not really following what was kind of trending in the fitness space at the time. So there's been this huge movement for strength training, right? So proper barbells, right? Proper ergs, so, you know, ski ergs, bike ergs, rower, generally everyone has a rower, but just like too slow in the uptake for that. You know, I remember using the Les Mills weights at F45, whereas at the time strength training is really popping off. People want to lift heavy barbells. They want to like do proper compound lifts. And when that was too slow and that wasn't getting, like the uptake just wasn't there, that's when, for me, the writing was on the wall.
Yeah.
Like people do follow the science now, and trends are real in the fitness space. So
yeah, 100%. And I think so. As you and Mark were discussing, you know, exiting F45, like for me, it can be nerve wracking. You're definitely a risk taker, even just talking through the start of your career, and happy to, you know, jump into something and hopefully it works and back yourself, which is amazing. When you're exiting, what were the discussions like with you and Mark? Were they doing the right thing? You know, it can turn around. You know, if we stick out, it can be happy. Like, what was that? You know, that breaking point, or that moment.
Yeah, when we exited, it kind of sent shockwaves through the network because we'd won best studio year on year. Like we were almost the golden children of F45, and but there was no doubt in our mind that we're doing the right thing. So, and really on paper, we probably went a little bit early, but then very quickly the rest of the network followed. So, I don't know if we influenced much of that, but I think we timed it really well. But no, it just made perfect sense to us.
Yeah, that's awesome. And as you're transitioning through, obviously, Strong is such a unique brand. That's something that from a brand-in perspective, it's really enjoyable to watch where you've taken it, and the look of it looks incredible. The feel of it, I think even some of the stuff you've done even on Instagram stuff, I've seen you occasionally go, yeah, this is great. Like it's very different. But even before all that, the model itself, is it that there was a guy, did you see something in the US? Is that correct?
Yeah. I saw the row former on Instagram actually. I was living with a couple and my housemates and the girl at the time showed me this thing. She's like, this looks really cool. Interestingly, I was doing some work for Adidas and I tested a new runner, and we're filming this shoot for the new runner, and I was literally the first 10 seconds of the shoot, I kind of slipped and broke my ankle. So, yeah. Sorry, Adidas.
Yeah.
But look, a lot of it was due to deficiencies that I had from doing so much plyometric work at F45. And so I was rehabbing on a reformer, and I fell in love with reformer. And it was the first time that all the deficiencies within my body dissipated through training. So I had a quads tendinopathy that disappeared. I had a bad lower back. All those things sort of self-adjusted through Pilates. And I was doing sort of clinical work with a friend of mine. And then, so I fell in love with Pilates. I'm rehabbing this ankle. I've sold F45. I see this thing. And the interesting thing at the time was I loved Pilates, but I still had to train and do other shit. So I had to go I had to go for a run, or I had to lift heavy weights, or I had to do all this other stuff. And then I saw this Roformer, a rower attached to a reformer, and I was like, wow, this just makes so much sense to me. I'm going to get like the endorphin rush, the calorie burn that I need, all that sort of thing, and I can still do Pilates. So jumped on a plane, Mark went over as well. We did the class, we loved it. Small studio it was in Orange County.
Oh, yeah.
10 beds, and it made a lot of sense, but there was a lot from a brand perspective, from a customer experience perspective, that we felt it needed. So we ended up negotiating the exclusive rights for the machine, initially Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and then we got them globally probably like 4 years ago. And that was it, and we just developed it from there. So initially it was the row former, so rowing and Pilates. We then brought in the bike former, which we helped sort of create, and then we really dived into strength training. So there's studios with like 35 kilo dumbbells at Strong. Yeah.
Damn.
So it's effectively strength and conditioning and Pilates.
Nice. Yeah, and actually doing it myself, I think it's extremely hard. It's not anyone's looking for a new workout. It's full body workout. It definitely works everything.
Yeah.
Very cool. And with the, I guess from the strong branding side of stuff, which you touched on, I actually asked some of the guys, what questions do you want me to ask you? And one of them said, why was it so important to get that strong handle, obviously being part of a marketing group? Can you talk to us a bit about that and like what some people may perceive as small things, why it's so important?
Yeah, it's a interesting story. I had a friend who, remember, koala mattresses, right?
Yeah.
So I remember Danny was telling me, he's like, I just bought koala.com for like a couple of $100,000, the domain.
Yep.
And I was like, geez, like these sort of one-word domains are really valuable. And then I was looking at Instagram. I'm like, surely these one-word Instagram handles are going to be really valuable. So I started online messaging like single handles and just purchasing single word sort of Instagram handles. So I had Ram, I had Strong, I had, I think, Cultivate, and I just held on to Strong as an investment. And then when we started, and the funny thing was, I would log on and it would get tagged all around the world like every 5 minutes. It was insane. I'd log on and there's all these notifications, right? Just the handle. It's not doing anything, but it's getting tagged, right?
Yeah.
So, and then when we were trying to figure out a name for the Roformer brand, I just thought, well, how does this workout make me feel? It makes me feel strong. Mentally, you need to be strong. Physically, you need to be strong. And it just made perfect sense. So, it's a hard word to own. Like my dream for the brand was people would start referring to it as Strong. So instead of I'm going to Strong Pilates, it's I'm going to Strong. Have you done Strong? And now it's sort of become that in Australia. But that vision, like you always need that sort of big goal.
Yep.
We can't obviously own the word itself, but you can own it from a cultural perspective.
Yeah.
We can trademark Strong Pilates, but we can't trademark Strong. But now that I guess the opportunity is to replicate that in the US.
Nice.
Yeah.
And before we get into the US stuff, how many active studios do you have now in Australia?
In Australia, we've got about 70 active. We've got 108 globally in 14 countries, with a massive rollout next year. I think we'll open about maybe around 60 next year into the Northern Hemisphere. So it's really exciting.
Fantastic. And what was your growth and getting franchisees on board that first time? Do you still remember your first conversation with someone that wasn't part of your inner core group?
Oh, yeah. 0 to 20 is the hardest in franchising. Like, and the cool thing is like, yeah, we've done it in Australia. Next year we will do it in the UK, Canada, US, which is really, really exciting. But yeah, mate, it's so difficult at the start. Like, and it is just, it's all about building a hype train and building FOMO, right? So for us, and it's like, you've seen Braveheart, obviously. You know when he's standing there, he's going, hold, and you can, like, I can sit here and I can look at all the cool stuff that other brands are doing, but you need to pick your moments. And so maybe once a quarter we'll try and have a moment. And so I'll sit here and I'm like, I just want to build that hype. But you got to hold, and then you pick your moment and you make it count. So like the next one for us will be West Hollywood, first week of Feb, and that will be a moment for us. But I'm sitting here watching all the other brands doing all these cool things, but I'm just like, nah, got to hold, then take the opportunity. So it is about sort of building hype, but picking the moments and building hype. The business model is good, the product's good, right place, right time. Pilates is the number one genre globally, so that all makes sense. But it's like, how do you keep building the hype train? That's been the challenge. But I don't think a lot of people understand that in franchising. You just got to keep that brand growing and growing.
And the right franchisee is obviously really, really, really important to make sure they're following your lead.
Yeah. And it's more important now for us. Like at the start, you just want hyper growth. So, you probably say yes to a few people that maybe you shouldn't have.
Are you doing that for financial reasons or for just pure growth of a network reason?
Both. So, I mean, we're still bootstrapped. We've never taken investment. So it's important that we're selling franchises, right? Because it self-funds the business. But it's so much just about scaling at the start. And the best thing that we could do for the brand when we started was open one on the Gold Coast, open one in Sydney, open one in Tassie, open one in Newcastle. And then from there, like people see it and then they want it. And then really, I think the best B2B marketing for franchising is just opening studios.
And how many of your franchisees have come from being a member of an existing location?
Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah,
quite a few. The good thing with our brand, over 50% of the franchisees are multi-site owners. It was 70% at one point, but we're just selling too many now. So, but it's good. Like most of the US are multi-site owners now, and it's good. You work with less people with more studios. I think it's the way to go.
And are you mentoring them on how to? You hear a lot of people say you have to be an owner-operator for this type of business, but if you've got those multi-location owners, it makes it easier for the relationship with head office. Are you working with those multi-site owners to manage multiple locations, like getting back to the systems thing that you touched on at the start? How do you find that?
Yeah, it's all about systems, which is a boring answer. But yeah, I mean, we do studio manager training, instructor training. There's over 1,000 instructors now. Obviously, all the systems, the marketing systems, digital stack, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It all has to be cohesive and work together. And it needs to be, you can't run just a pure owner-operator model because there's just not enough clients out there or potential franchisees out there that want to do that. So, we've got one group in the US that's bought, over 100 locations,
Wow.
So
congrats.
So they're going to have to be really big on studio managers, instructors, and the systems. You just got to make it scalable and teachable and all that stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't usually ask many people this, but I guess the franchisees, you've got a really switched on, very smart head office team with you now. How does the franchise, I'm trying to say it the right way, I just call it franchise politics, but how do the personalities of the franchisees, in a good and bad way, impact, I guess the beliefs or the cohesion of your internal corporate team? Like when you've got all these business owners all coming at you, how do you keep them enthusiastic the whole time to continually deliver?
The team?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really good question. It's just, I think we thrive off the performance of the business. And I would say out of sort of the major fitness franchises out there, we probably would do 30 to 50% more revenue on average than most of the ones in Australia per studio. And we'll do these great campaigns or we'll roll out some new product or whatever it is. And it's the results that we can achieve, which I think the team gets pumped from, It's just we're all working towards a huge goal. And one of the good thing is with our business, myself and Mark want our team to deliver a major innovation every year. So they're always working on something new. It might be a big one like a tech one, or it might just be a new system within a department that's going to help us operate more efficient, whatever it is. So they're not only sort of doing their day-to-day, but they're thinking ahead, how can I improve the business? So I think that keeps things interesting. But culturally, we finish our conference this year on the Gold Coast And we walked away with like a huge amount of brand advocacy from the franchisees, and that's super positive. It can be a volatile space, franchising, but no, that was really positive. The team walked away really happy, positive. They all presented. They all had ownership of their departments. So, yeah, I think I can't answer it from a space of being like an underperforming brand, or maybe a brand that might be a modality that's sort of not as popular anymore. I think that would be very difficult, but we're running this momentum game of, the internal hype train as well.
Such a good word, momentum.
Yeah.
You got to take advantage of it while you can.
100%.
Yeah. Mate, that's awesome. And I think that, by the way, the conference pics and videos look sick. Looks so good. I think it's, I don't know how to say it in a nice way. Some people fake it. Yours just looked like an awesome, cohesive, everyone looked pumped the whole time. It wasn't just some close-ups of slow-mo and other weird stuff. So congrats, mate. It's hard to do a conference really well. Mate, you and Mark have been, I had you to have a quick sneaky through your LinkedIns and stuff like that, just to get a time on it. It's been over a decade now that you've sort of been partners. And obviously what you touched on earlier, you've known each other before then. So how many years have you actually known each other and partnered up?
Be getting up to 12 years now. We've been in business. Or 11. So, and probably known each other for close to 15. So
good. How do you, obviously, did you start off as mates? Or just, okay, cool. How's it still working today? It's a long time.
Yeah, start off as mates. We both morally are very similar. We're definitely not out to screw anyone in business. And one thing I've noticed, the cohesion between me and Mark, we know when someone's being a dickhead. We know when someone's a good person. We know we kind of have the same outlook on business and life. So although our skill sets are completely different, I'm the marketing and fitness guy. He drives B2B sales globally and does an incredible job. But we have completely different skill sets. He's 15 years older than me, but it just works. And there's an element of trust. None of us are doing this purely for the money. We're not greedy over money. We don't try and pull dividends or pull the wool over each other's eyes. It's very open and honest, and that's helpful. So it's just an easy partnership, which I think we're very, very lucky to have, right?
Yeah, but I think it's that pairing at the start, mate. You sort of know it. Some people ignore that. If the energy's off, let's try to do it anyway. And then you sort of get found out like a relationship. If you're sort of forcing those early days, it's not going to last. So things like James and I, we're definitely polar opposites, but it works very well. It's only been 20 years for us.
Wow.
Been a long time, working together, a bit more grey. So, and you just touched on international stuff. So he's in charge of franchise sales globally. Did he go to the US first, or is he still there now?
Yeah, he's in Florida. He's been there for, probably about 18 months now. I was there for 6 months this year, and I'll move back actually next week.
Yep.
Permanently for some time. But he's been the one driving the growth. And it was tough. He's got to move his family over. He's got 2 kids. He's got to move his family over, live out at Airbnbs at the start, figure out how to open a bank account and get a phone number and social security number, all that sort of stuff. So he's put in the hard yards, but we're now, we're ready to go. We got sales, we've got a big pipeline of studios opening, and just from him sacrificing an entire year of just we need to get this off the ground. So it's worked really well. And then now I come in and make sure they work and make sure the product is delivered the way the product needs to be delivered. The marketing hype train continues and he keeps selling.
Mate, that's awesome. I love to see, even hearing you talk about him then. Is it so sincere? Love that. What are you looking forward to the most of getting over there?
I love, I'm so privileged I literally go, I can fly all around the States, go to a studio launch, meet 10 new instructors, 300 new members, and get to know them. It's actually it's nice to be doing something that's positive for everyone. The franchisees make money, the members are getting healthier, fitter. So just going to all these launches and just seeing them launch in new markets as well that we're not in yet in the US. I just love it. It's awesome.
the US is so big. You see all the states. You almost look at that like Europe, right? They're all East and West Coast are so different. Have you noticed anything trend-wise or culturally as yet?
Yeah, it's US is it's. I mean, culturally there are nuances with Australia, but even state by state, there's nuances. So the important thing for us is that we're completely neutral in the way we go about things. Politically, we need to follow the science and why we're doing this as well. And a lot of our sort of the way we program now is very science based, and that will just keep us in good stead to just keep doing what we're doing. But yeah, I think, and I don't want to say it's easier in the US, but there's certainly more density, biggest fitness market in the world. There's more money over there as well. So like we're having studios launch doing over $1 million annualized from day one. And then those franchisees are buying more and more studios, and it just seems to be a good place for someone who's put in the work and had to build a product to be able to be successful in Australia, which is less dense, probably more gyms per capita than anywhere in the world. And in Australia, you need to be exceptional to do well here, I think. Like there's so many gyms and not enough people. So like we've put all this work into the product, and now to take that polished product over to the US with so many more people, it's hitting even better over there. So yeah, it's really exciting.
That's awesome. And have you sought help on the ground there? Like in terms of people that are obviously Americans?
Yeah.
From the area? How have you found that, and how have you found working with them?
Yeah, really good. Different work ethic. Just like the cool thing is with the States, and to be fair, like our Oz team is fantastic and will pick up the phone at any time. But I can message my US team at 5 a.m. or 10 o'clock at night, and they're responsive. The talent over there they just have a really broad knowledge, because you've got all these brands like Barry's, Soul Cycle, Orange Theory, Club Pilates. You've got all these brands and this depth of experience, and brands that have achieved virality, brands that have just blown up. And to be able to like go in and interview, like I'm interviewing for a new marketing manager now, and to actually ask them for a case study around, hey, in Barry's heyday when you were working there, what did you do? Just like that level of experience is incredible. And you can't really get that in Australia. Like we just don't have the eyeballs. Do you know what I mean?
And with the larger size, larger goals, what have you set for yourself in terms of locations on the ground?
Yeah, I'd love, mate, I don't know. It's a really open question, but I'd love at least 300 to 400 in the States. We've got a huge Q1. I think we're launching about 20 next year in the US in Q1. But it's just such a big place. The way we're going to do it, it needs to be, you can't be a national brand all at once. Like it's impossible. So it needs to be suburb by suburb, city by city, state by state, and then national. So we just need to like focus, think small, and then think big long term.
It's smart. I think when people try to spread themselves too thin, it's too hard to manage, especially in the US, and it's so big. In the other markets you've got, so Singapore, UK, what are some of the, not easy things is the wrong thing to say, but what were some of the things you found, okay, this is pleasing, and what are some challenges? Because they're all, those markets you listed, all completely different.
Yeah. Interestingly, like the Middle East, so Dubai, Bahrain, like those markets have been incredible, wealthy, big fitness community, growing community, and huge uptake. And the product has hit. So what's worked in Australia, US is working there. Difficulties I've found, like we launched in Japan and the product was just too intense. So we had to rewrite all the programming, because the Japanese market has probably more potential than any other market, but they're just slowly getting there. Like Pilates is now starting to take off. Strength training's a lot further behind. Cardio's there, which is good. But so we had to sort of regress all the programming, and we run everything through screens. So we had to write a whole new block of programming. And now Japan is really starting to take off. So I think we've tripled our membership in like the last couple of months. But that took a little bit of tweaking. Language barriers as well.
Yep.
That's difficult. But the product seems to resonate almost everywhere. Like there hasn't been a market we've failed in, and we'll be in 20 countries by the end of the year, so we'll see.
Mate, it's massive. Right. I know you do a lot of panels, do a lot of conferences. I'm going to hate asking, so I just want to ask you anyway, though. Everyone always talks about trends and everything. Obviously, as you know, strengths really back up. Obviously, Pilates is the fastest growing vertical in the space. Just a few pure numbers, you can see that. What do you think triggered that? You know, so in terms of, it's obviously caught on over and over again. You touched on your own recovery and change in training. I definitely benefit from my back surgery. Actually, the best shape of my life, I'm being really honest, doing reformer Pilates. Obviously, blown up a bit since then. But what do you think sort of kicked that off? Where'd you first see it?
The trend of strength training and Pilates, why? Yeah, it's a good question. I think the science is saying there's a huge reduction in all-cause mortality through strength training. Like it is, in terms of, like, longevity is the hot word, right? But in terms of real longevity in life, if you strength train, you're more likely going to live longer. So I think a lot of that research is now coming through, and where I think a lot of people get, you know, their information is social media. It's through your Hubermans, it's through your Gary Breckers, it's through all those guys, and then that filters to micro-influencers, it filters through to the rest of the industry. I think that messaging is just getting drilled in. Pilates is an interesting one because people do consider Pilates as a form of strength and resistance training, right? Yep. But it's probably one of the only genres, I think, in the fitness space that it's quite enjoyable and you leave feeling better than sort of when you came in. Like even with like a really heavy strength session, like you can leave and you can barely get up the stairs and whatever else. Pilates, you tend to feel stronger when you finish. So I think it's just that combination of it's good for you, but it feels good. It's trending. It tends to work. But look, my biggest thing with Pilates is people need to lift weights and they need repetition to grow lean muscle. And VO2 max is another sort of core sort of metric for health. And you need an element of conditioning as well, right? So for me, like, I don't think Pilates alone is the answer. I think Pilates with strength and with cardio is the perfect mix of everything that you need right now, which is exactly what we're doing. So, we're not well liked in the Pilates space because we've literally got a fucking rower and a bike attached to a reformer and we're doing these heavy lifts. But I think this is, from a science perspective, from a health perspective, and from a dollar cost perspective for where people want to spend their money, I think having all three in one is the exact place that we need to be right now. So, yeah.
Touching on what you just said then about not being liked in the traditional Pilates space. Yeah, we had the privilege to work with a lot of Pilates brands using our tech and stuff. Would they view as direct competitors, or would they view as an evolution or as a sort of an alternative which is different to traditional sort of Pilates? How do you think they view you when you look back in?
Probably more so from a competitive perspective, but the interesting thing for us is like, and I'm big on consumer behavior data, where we're getting most of our members is actually from standard gyms, believe it or not. But it's still like 30% here, then 25% will be from Pilates, 20% will be from functional training. We kind of get everybody. So I would say Pilates views us as competition, but from a clinical Pilates perspective, they just would think what we're doing is completely wrong. Even our Pilates movements too, and a lot of the modern Pilates brands, even they're sort of viewed as not Pilates.
Gotcha.
But when you got these big market research agencies saying Pilates is the number one genre in the world, you got to remember like probably 80% of the growth in Pilates is fitness Pilates. It's not clinical. So you can't really have your cake and eat it too. You need to accept that Pilates is a modality that's evolving. And we've seen it. We've seen it with boxing. Boxing was originally just in a ring. Now it's kind of gone to this group format. We've seen it with cycling. It's gone from the road to now spin studios to I think it's happened in every single kind of modality. Now Pilates is next. But you're always going to have the traditionalists that hate on us, but it's fine. It's fine. I love it.
Enough room for everyone.
Yeah.
That's what we say. So, mate, you've gone through you know a lot about the space, a lot about the trends in industries. You're a massive data guy. What are you sort of seeing in 2026? Here we come out of this festive season, and what do you think 26 and beyond? What if we look, say, 2 years from now? What does the space look like? Obviously, you'll have 150, 200 locations open in the US and everything going well. And do you think it's more of that evolution? You sort of touched on one evolution each year. Do you think it continues in that way? Or do you think it will stabilize and remain consistent?
I think it's going to go crazy. Okay. I think one thing that no doubt has to happen is the standard and quality of product and service will keep going up because the space is getting so competitive. So we're just going to see brands getting better and better and better, better at like their onboarding process with members, better product and customer experience. All those things are going to improve. But I think we're going to go to a fully connected space. And we've just launched a new innovation where the row and the ride screens are effectively iPads, so tablets, and that is going to a fully connected client profile where we'll be able to tell them what to lift, we'll be able to tell them what springs to use, we'll be able to tell them what their lifetime meters rode and ridden, we'll be able to tell them when they've hit a PB, we can build AI into the camera that can tell them if their squat form is off, like all this stuff. So we made the investment a year ago. We've been building this for a year, goes to market in Q1 next year, but we're going to be a fully connected brand to the point where we can put sensors in the platform, in the springs, and reward based off time under tension, and then integrate their sleeping patterns and their hydration and all those kind of things. So this is where I think it's going, and we want to be there. So we made this investment early, knowing that it's like an iPhone, you can update it 5, 10, 20 times over the next 10 years. And we're just going to keep building this out now. So, yeah.
That's crazy. And you're saying you can actually be able to correct your form. And
yeah, I think it's a little bit intrusive, but what I would probably use it for is instructor notes. So let's say, a class finishes with 20 people and AI picks up some degradation in a squat form or something like that. It can be sent to the instructor who can then look out for it in the next workout. So back to the systems thing with McDonald's, help your staff be better, right? So,
man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Business all going well. Obviously, I know you're a dad. I've just become one as well. It's one of my favorite chats with you before I had the little guy, saying that the first year is always most difficult. I know he's teething, my guy's teething at the moment, so not much sleep. Talk to me how your family's going, and as much, obviously I don't want to probe too much in your personal life, but yeah, how's all that going?
Mate, it's amazing. It's honestly been, look at all the things that we've been able to achieve work-wise in the last few years, and this is by far, having a kid and being a dad is the best. It's my number one. But I just love it. It kind of, everything just makes sense. Like it's like an aha moment. Okay, so this is why I'm doing all this stuff. This is why I want to work so hard. And yeah, so mate, I just love it. It's actually calmed me down a lot. Like now I love my time with my son. I play with him whenever I can, any time that I can just put the laptop down and get with him, I do. So it's been a really positive, and in turn, my work life has become even better as well. So mate, I love it. We're thinking about more kids now. It's super exciting. So yeah, mate, really happy.
Mate, that's awesome.
Yep.
And what about for yourself going into next year in terms of you moving over, getting set up, just head down, bum up, straight into the studio openings, obviously the first in Feb, West Hollywood. Are you mentally ready for that? Ready to get after it all?
Yeah, mate, I'm chewing at the bit. I'm sitting here in Melbourne going, get me over. So I got another week here and then I'm just ready to go.
And how did the team deal with you being over there and the HQ being here? How's that going?
We got a great general manager in Kat. We got great managers in each department in Australia. So they're actually great. Like they're fantastic. They're almost self-sufficient now. And yeah, it's now for us, it's trying to replicate that team in the US and now hiring like crazy to meet the rollout next year. So it's all working really, really well. Some of it, we're going to have to look at staff in the UK and Canada and things like that as well. But yeah, it just so far so good. And I think it's important for me and Mark to just keep setting the vision and keep setting the goals and keep driving that, that momentum, virality of the brand and just keep everyone motivated. But no, I'm very fortunate to have the team that I do.
And final question, mate, before I let you go, how do you think the Bombers are going to go next year?
Probably terrible. I think Andrew Welsh is a legend, so hopefully he can sharpen things up. But mate, I don't know if my son will be seeing a Bombers final for a while. But
Bombers supporter though?
Yeah, I've got him a Bombers jumper. He's 3, so he doesn't know anything. But
I did the same thing.
I'm dressed him up. Yeah,
nice, mate. All right, mate. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, mate.
Much appreciated. All the best for next year.
Thank you.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks.